Hey there, nation. Welcome to the show where we show you how to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. I am Commander CheapSkate, and this is another edition of Age of the Realms, our Warhammer Age of Sigmar battle reports. This is battle report number 13. It is a 2,000 point match play battle between myself of my Wild Hunt, which is my Sylvaneth army, versus Brother Grimm of the Iron Splitters, which is a Destruction Alliance army. So yeah, we're back again with Age of Warhammer's Age of Sigmar. It's been a while since I played this game. I've been primarily consumed with Necromunda. Same thing with Ninth Age. And that's the reason why that is the case, because a lot of my fellow gamers, they don't really like to play Age of Sigmar all that often. They like to play Ninth Age instead, or Necromunda in some of this cases that we're doing now. But I got a couple of buddies who want to play it, so we're gonna make them for you guys. So this show, Age of the Realms, will be alternating every other Sunday with the ninth sagas. So on Sundays it'll flip flop. One week it'll be Ninth Age. So the next week it might be Warhammer Age of Sigmar, and they go that way. Just like how on Thursdays for Throwback Thursday it goes back to Warhammer 8th Edition for the Golden Age, all the way back up to Necromunda. So yeah, just a quick little channel update. Let's go and talk about this battle report and let's get it on. Let's see what happens with 2,000 points of Sylvaneth stack up against the Destruction Alliance army. Alright, so let's talk about the Wild Hunt. That's my 2,000 point Sylvaneth army. For my leaders, I have Durthu. He is a Spirit of Durthu. He's my general of my army as well. He's got the Gift of Giran as well as the Oaken Armor. So that is the kit he's wearing on this one. Next comes Coadil. He's my Tree Lord Ancient with Rhinu's Lemon Entry, as well as the Tree Song Deep Wood Lore spell added to his repertoire as well. Next, we also have Shyvana of the Shadows. She's a Branch Witch with a Wraith Stone with the Reaping Deep Wood Lore spell, and Briar Maven. She's another Branch Wraith with the Hagbane Spite and the Verdant Blessing Deepwood Lore spell. So that's pretty cool on that part. I got 4 leaders on this part. For my units, I have 3 units of 3 Kurnoth Hunters. All 3 are equipped with Huntmaster Hunters as well as Great Bows. That's the Troop of Dawn, the Troop of Dusk, as well as the Troop of Twilight. I also have 3 units of 10 Dryads with Branch Nymphs, the Court of Summers, the Court of Winters, as well as the Court of Tides. And then I also have another battle line unit called the Fallen Heralds. Those are 5 Tree Revenants with a Scion, Glade Banner, as well as Way Pipes. And I also have 3 battalions running in this army as well. I have a Free Spirits Battalion, a Forest Folk Battalion, as well as a Household Battalion. So it's kind of neat to get to run the 3 different abilities of 3 different battalions and see how they kind of stack up. So yeah, this is 2,000 points of Sylvaneth for this one. Alright, so let's talk about Brother Grimm's the Iron Splitters. That's his 2,000 point destruction army. For his leader, he has the People Eater, who's a Savage Orruk Big Boss, who's his general, who's equipped with a Ravager Companion trait, as well as a Collar of Domination. Next comes Old Blacktooth, an Orruk Weird Knob Shaman, as well as Moloch the Loon, who's an Orruk War Chanter, equipped with the Talisman of Protection, actually. For his units, he's got a bunch of them. He's got Dawaka Waka, which are 10 Savage Orcs with Savage Boss, Skull Thumper, Bone Totems, and Bone Shields. The Raka Raka, which are 10 Savage Orcs rather, with Savage Boss, Skull Thumper, Bone Totems, and Bone Shield. The Twang Twang, which are 20 Savage Orc Arrow Boys with a Arrow Boss as well as Skull Thumper and Bone Totems. Then he also got the Stabba Stabba, which are 2 Savage Orc Big Stabbers. After that, he's also got the rest of his army, which is basically Iron Jaws. He's got Mortals, which are 20 Orc Ard Boys with Boss, Drummer, as well as Banners. The Ard Bastards, which are another unit of 20 Orc Ard Boys with Boss, Drummer, and Banners. And the Bloods, which are another 20 unit of Orc Ard Boys with Ardboard Boss, Drummer, as well as Banners. And he's running 2 battalions in this army. He's running a Cunning Ruck for his Bone Splitters, as well as an Artifice Battalion for his for his Iron Jaws. So that'd be kind of interesting to see exactly how they do for that one. So that makes it the 2,000 points for this battle report. Alright, so here's the deployment. As you can see, we're playing on our 4x6 table on this part because we're playing a 2,000 point match play army. Scattered throughout the terrain, I got a bunch of Sylvaneth Wildwoods I have lined up. Now, my particular Sylvaneth Wildwoods that I deploy in the middle of the table, those are the 3 Sylvaneth Wildwoods you see right there in front of the tower. There's a line of 3 of them right kind of cutting diagonally through that part as well. As you see in this picture too, none of my guys are deployed because all of my battalions are waiting, excuse me, waiting along the Spirit Paths. Alright, so this is the Destruction Alliances, their left flank. As you can see here, we have the Hard Fist, which is located right here. This is the battalion for the Iron Jaws. As you can see, we got 3 units of 20 Iron Jaw Orcs, which is pretty scary if you think about it. They're Ard Boys, so that's really scary. And the guy right there in the smack dab in the middle is the War Chanter. And this battalion is kind of scary because if one of these units gets wiped up, so long as he's alive, another one can be replaced, so long as we're within 9 inches of the table edge. So kind of scary for that part. So this is half of his army. And on the center portion of the board, this is his Cunning Ruck, which is his other battalion. As you can see, the two units of the Raka Raka and the Waka Waka. Those are the two units of 10 War Boys and Savage Orc Boys. Right in the middle of them, you got the two big stabs as well. Behind the guy on the left hand side, you have the Weird Knob Shaman, and on the right hand side, you got the Big Boss, and then behind them, you got the 20 Savage Orruk Arrow Boys, and so they're located there as well. And that's another also kind of scary battalion because during the hero phase, they can take an additional action as well. So kind of scary stuff there. So I used the battalions for this one. Let's go and talk about the Sylvaneth. And as you can see in my deployment zone, I have nothing. So I was done setting up my army. My entire army and their battalions were set up on the spirit paths because there's no way I'm going to put my units down around these guys, not until they do some movement so I can figure out what his game plan basically is. So one of the nice things about the Sylvaneth army is we can do that. We can deploy pretty rapidly. Lots of maneuverability in these armies. So yeah, basically I'm just kind of waiting to see what he does to see exactly what his game plan is. So with that, we go directly to the top of battle round number 1, which is for the Destruction Army. Alright, so the beginning of turn number 1, battle round number 1 for the Destruction Army. As you can see here for the command phase, basically the Cunning Ruck kind of shifted more over to the right-hand side to occupy those Sylvaneth Wildwoods. I think the reason why my opponent wanted to do that for Brother Grimm because he wanted to stop anything from teleporting into those woods. Unfortunately, however, I don't think he got far enough. He did that running move as well. Same thing when he did his movement for the movement phase as well. He tried to get his guys over those Sylvaneth Wildwoods, but there was that one on the far right that he really get a chance to really occupy there. So that's really going to sting him later on. As you can see there on the left-hand side, we also got the Iron Fist, that Ard Fist. They're just basically running up as quick as they can, trying to get into those Sylvaneth Wildwoods as well. But at the same time, though, they can't really run into those woods because those guys will take mortal wounds. That's the case. So that's movement as well as command on this part. As you can see, here's a close with the Cutting Ruck trying to occupy those Sylvaneth Wildwoods on the right-hand side to try to prevent me from teleporting in. So that's where his troops are located at. And here's a close-up of his Hardfish, trying to move as quickly as they can through those Sylvaneth Wildwoods and try to occupy them because if he tries to run through them, he takes mortal wounds. So yeah, that pretty much makes up battle round number 1 for the opponent. So now it's my turn. Alright, so it's the bottom of battle round number 1 for the Sylvaneth. As you can see here for the command stage, we skipped that part because we really didn't have any units deployed. However, in the movement phase, I decided to start dropping my troops down using the Spirit Walking Path. So as you can see there, I basically deployed all my units pretty much. As you can see there, I've deployed most of my army there in the front there in that middle, that line of Sylvaneth Wildwoods have going cutting diagonally across the battlefield there. As you can see there, I've deployed my Forest Folk Battalion, which are my 3 units of Dryads with the Branch Wraith. I've also dropped off my Household Battalion, which has my Tree Lord Ancient, as well as my Branch Witch, as well as 5 Tree Revenants. On the right-hand side there, I have my Free Folk Battalion there, which is basically my killers. Those are my 3 Kurnoth Hunters with Great Bows, as well as Durthu, the Spirit of Durthu. So that pretty much makes a move for this one. Here's a close-up of all my troops kind of located here in the center part. As you can see, I have all 3 of my units of 10 Dryads apiece with the Branch Wraith right behind them. They're kind of occupying the opposite ends of those Sylvaneth forests. I'll be moving up here in a second, so that way I can start engaging those Iron Fists that's coming straight at me. So that's where they're located at. In the top right there, you can see my Tree Lord Ancient, as well as his 5 Tree Revenants and the Branch Witch as well. And here's a close-up of Durthu, as well as my 3 tree Kurnoth Hunters. I equipped all 3 Kurnoth Hunters with great bows, just because I think they can do a lot more damage with the long range firepower and stuff, some pretty decent close combat. Plus stomps, I decided to try all 3 with great bows in this part. So that way they're attacking like in 2 different combat phases instead of just one. And then right by hand there we have Durthu as well. So Durthu is not the Durthu special character from the Age of Sigmar. I decided to try to run him as a son of Durthu or a spirit of Durthu and try that out instead. So that part's kind of nice because he's got that Oaken armor, gives him +1 save, and he's just a real beast. And plus his Verdant Blast is much more powerful in this version, so looking forward to see how that works out. Alright, there's no additional movement because I rolled a 2, a 3, as well I think it's a 4 on my Spirit Realms teleportation. I teleport my battalion, so because of that, they don't do additional movements. So because of that, we go directly into the shooting phase. As you can see in that picture, I took out that far right-hand side, the Raka Raka, that unit of 10 Savage Orruks we just destroyed. And all my Kurnoth Hunters, as well as Durthu constantly fought in that unit, we just destroyed those guys. So those guys are absolutely wiped down. They're wiped them off the face of the planet. After the shooting phase, I did try to attempt to charge the charge phase, but everything was just out of range. It wasn't able to get into grips and anything. So because of that, we go to the top of battle round number 2. Alright, this is the photo of battle round number 2. We roll off for initiative, and I managed to get the initiative on this one, so it's pretty awesome. I mean, back-to-back turns, which is always a good thing. So for the command phase, you can see in this picture, the very first thing I do is I use Coadil. He summons up a brand new Sylvaneth Fire Forest. He rolled a 5 up and that 4 up to in order to make that happen, so I pop it right there, right next to my other unit of Dryads there on the left-hand side, just to give them something a little bit to protect themselves in case those Ardfist decides to outflank with those Iron Jaws. So that's the command phase on this side of the board. And over here on the right hand side, the Free Folk Battalion actually has a command rule that during the command phase and the hero phase, that my troops can basically just have an additional movement phase on top of what they already have. They can move closer towards the enemies. So with that, we basically move up their full 5 inches, moving through the Sylvaneth Wildwoods and get them set up for the next phase. So that way, in the next movement phase, I can move up even closer. In the charge phase, I can bum rush them and charge them in as well. So basically, planning on getting those guys close to those Savage Orruks. My four Free Folk are going to wipe those guys off the board, and that's the plan I'm going to go with on this one. And over here, as you can see in the hero phase, I had a Sylvaneth of the Shadows, the Branch Wraith. I'm sorry, not the Branch Wraith. I'm sorry, Briar Maven, the Branch Wraith. I had her use her spell for Verdant Blessing and managed to put another Sylvaneth the Wildwood right in front of those units of Savage Orcs as well. And with the command phase over, hero phase over, we go directly to the move phase. You can see there with my army, I just basically move everything up as quick as I can. I got my Dryads taking positions between each of those Sylvaneth Wildwoods there on the left-hand side of the board. I keep the household battalion pretty much located right there in the trees there in order to hold the center. And as you can see with on the right-hand side, I have my Free Folk Battalion with my Kurnoth Hunters and Durthu just kind of getting ready to charge into the flank there. As you can see in this photo, here's a close-up of my Free Folk Battalion getting ready to charge into the flanks of those Savage Orruks. As you can probably guess from this one, I'm going to plan on charging two of my units of Kurnoth Hunters on the right there. I'm going to charge up to the top to where that other unit of the Waka Waka is located at, and then send the other two units of Kurnoth to the Twang Twang with Durthu, and then send my last unit of Kurnoth Hunters directly charging to that general there, Brutta Grim, and try to take him out as well. So that's a close-up on this part. Here's a close of the center portion of my battle lines. As you can see there, I have my five tree revenants located up there on the right-hand side, right in front of Coadil, the tree ancient. So I got them moving up there. As you see on the left-hand side there, my three units of Dryads, as well as my Branch Wraith, Sylvaneth of the Shadows. Basically, they move up in order to take in positions within those Sylvaneth Wildwoods and start lining up and start defending those Wildwoods against from the Artifice that's coming their way. I mean, I get bonuses inside of those forests. I get a +1 save. My opponents get a -1 to hit because of that. Plus, with my Rapturing Song, I get a +1 bonus to fight back against that. So putting Dryads outside of anything besides a someone with Wildwood is absolutely suicide. So I'm using those woods to the best of my benefit. And here's another close-up of that line of Dryads taking positions in the Sylvaneth Wildwoods with my Branch Wraith in the back there. We're just getting ready to bring the pain onto that huge unit of a huge wave of Ironworks that are coming our way. So getting ready for the combat that's about to come. All right, during the shooting phase, you can see in this photo, I just had all my units of Kurnoth Hunters open up the Twang Twang and the Waka Waka. Same thing with Durthu as well. We just started cutting those units in half. As you can see, there we pretty much cut that unit by a third of the Waka Waka, which are those 10 orcs up in the front. Managed to cut those guys down pretty good. And I also managed to wipe out half the Twang Twang in the process as well. So half of those Savage Orc Arrow Boys are pretty much down as well. So that's kind of nice, kind of because those units kind of softened up. So that when I charge in there with the rest of my units, we could just cut them down during the combat phase. So that's the shooting phase on this side of the board. Alright, as you can see here in the charge phase, I just send everything charging as quickly as they possibly can. So as you can see there, I have my Troop of Dusk located up there in the top with that unit with the Waka Waka, along with Durthu to add support. The other unit of 20 Savage Orcs, I sent the Troop of Dusk, of Dawn, charging those guys as well. And then the Troop of Twilight charge up that Savage Orc War Boss, Brother Grim right there and located there as well. So now my units are kind of stuck in, which is kind of good. We get to do some really, really mean combat to these guys. Looking forward to the damage that these guys can possibly do in close combat. The rest of my army pretty much stays put for where they're located at for during the combat phase, for the charge phase, because I'm making my opponent come to me. I'm not going to them. And so we go directly to the combat phase. And as you can see in this portion, basically it just ended up being a butcher for those Savage Orruks. As you can see between Durthu and the Troop of Dust at the top, we just wipe out the Waka Waka. So those Savage Orc boys are pretty much gone. The Troop of Dawn, when they took on that massive, huge unit of Arrow boys, pretty mixed bag. Combat was a little weak on that part. One of the problems with having Kurnoth Hunters armed with great bows is that their equivalent attacks aren't as powerful as if they were armed with great swords, but at the same time, though, you get two different attacks per turn. That's the reason why I kind of make them go with the great bows. However, I did kill a couple of those Savage Orcs, but they basically fought back. Now, because of that, not much damage was really done all that much. They managed to put 4 wounds onto one of my Kurnoth Hunters, which was kind of sad on that part. But for the most part, though, it was a pretty good combat. After stomping on those and everything else like that, it ended up pretty good for that part. And as you can see on the right-hand side, the Troop of Dusk, they basically just curb stomped Brutta Grim as well. That Savage Orc War Boss, he did not really stand a chance whatsoever at all in that combat phase. So that was pretty awesome as well. Also, the Savage Orc Shaman Baron Zamini was also pretty cool. It killed as well. I used Durthu's Impaling Talons attack, managed to get that wound off, rolled the d6 for the difference, put that guy in the dirt as well. So already this Cunning Ruck is pretty much getting destroyed in this part. So that part was pretty epic. So here's the battle round number two for destruction after movement. They really didn't have much of a command phase, and the reason why is because both his general as well as his caster were both killed in that portion of the last combat phase. Because that not much is going down. So the war center doesn't have any command abilities either. So we go straight to move phase. Like you can see in this picture, that entire tidal wave of Artifice guys just basically just come surging forward. There are so many Black Orcs, Iron Jaw Orcs located that coming my way. It's ridiculous. Those are 60 Iron Jaw Orcs with a War Chanter backing them up as well, and he's kind of charging up forward as quickly as he possibly can. He doesn't run his units because he doesn't want them to take mortal wounds as they go through dangerous terrain tests as they charge those some of the wildwoods. So he just basically moves them up as quickly as he can, gets them popped up, and this next charge phase is going to be absolutely brutal for me if he actually lands to get this off. So that's move phase on this part. And because nothing shoots in his army, we go directly to the charge phase, and the charge phase is pretty lackluster for my opponent on this part. He tried to charge with all three of his units, including his War Chanter, and his charges basically kind of abandoned him. The only guys who made it was that very front rank of guys, which are the Bloods. Those guys finally charge across the force. None of them died from danger terrain tests, which is actually kind of amazing for that part. So those guys all made it, and they charged across the Sylvaneth Wildwood to get there. His War Chanter failed his charge roll, same thing with his other two units of the Immortals as well as the Crimson Killers. They weren't able to make their charge rolls at all, so they're just kind of stuck in the back ranks there, which is kind of a mixed blessing for me. So as you can see in this picture, after they charge into it, it was pretty rough. Here's a photo after the combat phase as well as the battle shock phase, which was pretty brutal for me. I only managed to kill two of those Iron Jaw Orcs in the process of that while my unit, the Court of Summers, had to take on all those guys. They cut that unit down in half. They pretty much killed six of my Dryads in that unit, so it was pretty brutal for that part. I only managed to kill two Orcs in that process as well. Those Orcs were just swinging out of the fence because those guys are both armed with slashes and maces, or I forgot how they're called, crushes. I forgot, but they're basically carrying two hand weapons apiece, so they get three attacks apiece. So it was actually pretty brutal on that part. So that part kind of sucked. However, there was a kind of like a flip side on that part. When it came for the battle shock phase, I managed to roll a 1. So because of that, all my guys had their insane courage and they basically stayed. So with combat out of the way, we go directly to the top of battle round number 3. So this is the top of battle round number 3 after command phase. You can see there, basically I won the initiative on that part, and this is where the illest thing actually happens. I used the Deepwood lore spell Tree Song. Now originally, I thought Tree Song was actually kind of like a weak spell at first. I really didn't see the much merit to it. To this idea hit me that maybe I can move my entire line of Sylvaneth Wildwoods out of that whole entire thing, because I remembered that my entire Sylvaneth Wildwoods are lined up in a line. So I decided to cast that spell. My opponent was unable to unbind that spell. So when I cast it, I rolled my d6. I rolled a 10 on that part. So you can see there in that whole photo, that whole line of Sylvaneth Wildwoods goes back 10 inches. As basically what happens. They basically transport any troops that are located there as well. Any units are located because all my Dryads are in those trees. Same thing with that unit of the Bloods are also located in there as well. So they get teleported back 10 extra inches. In fact, they go back so far, in fact, that at least Coadil as well as my tree revenants kind of right as well kind of exposed exposed in that sense. Also during the command phase, my tree revenants use their wave pipes ability to teleport to the back of the table there, so that way they can lend some support to the Court of Summers against those Bloods that they're fighting against. As you can see there, huge change in battlefield dynamics at that part. Really saved me on that part. That spell is ridiculously powerful if you use it right, and this is a perfect example how that spell could be absolutely devastating. Because I teleported all my troops back, that huge 2 units of Ironjaw Orcs are now out of play, basically, because now they have to spend another few turns trying to rush across the board to get to me yet again. And if I use that spell again, I could actually teleport my Sylvaneth into a totally different direction as well. So pretty demoralizing for my opponent. My brother Grim saw this. He was pretty disheartened. It kind of hollowed him on that part. So that was kind of rough. So that's command phase on this side of the board. So here's another close-up of those 3 Sylvaneth Wildwoods being pulled all the way back like they were, as you can see in that photo. And I just sent them all the way back about 10 inches away from where they were located at, around the other side of that tower. As you can see there, I had the Blood still located in those units. My Sylvaneths are still located in those woods as well. But I basically pretty much isolated my units away from that huge tidal wave of Ironjaw Orcs that are coming at me. So I got pretty lucky on that part as well. And you see in the back there, I also got my Wave Pipers located back there as well, which is also lending up some support for that part. And to add insult to injury, I also managed to get off my Rouse to War spell off with my Branch Wraith. She put up about 7 more Dryads to put into that line there, so I got 7 Dryads also located that held net support for my Troop of Dawn there. So, I'm sorry, my Troop of Dawn, sorry, my Court of Summers there. So that part was pretty awesome as well. As you can see, this is a close-up of the unit of some more dryads I managed to summon up with the Rouse of War ability. Have them reinforce that front line there to help out the Court of Summers deal with those orcs in the front there. And you can see right behind those gray-looking dryads, those are my substitute tree revenants I'm using for this one to proxy them. You can see they're located back there there too, using their Wave Pipes command ability, and they're located right back in the back phase there, so that way they can help up and shore up any defenses that are located there during my movement phase. And during the hero phase, I summon another Sylvaneth Wildwood. They're located right there in the back of those, right directly behind that unit of Bloods as well. So that way, when I start teleporting my Kurnoth Hunters as well as Dirthu, they have a Sylvaneth Wildwood that they can teleport into there and also start taking cover and welling support to the main battle line. So that pretty much makes the command phase on this side of the board. And down at the bottom of the board, I basically send my Troop of Dawn up to that Sylvaneth Wildwood right there in the center, so that way the next battle round, they can during the moment phase, they can teleport out of there and head back over to the other side of the board to lend some support for my troops over on that side as well. So that pretty much makes command phase on this one. So with command phase done, we go directly into the movement phase. Alright, during the movement phase, you can see here I deploy both my Troop of Dawn as well as my Troop of Twilight. They teleport out using the, and Durthu, they teleport out using the walk along the spirit route, paths route, and they land over there with the rest of the Sylvaneth Forest, where the rest of my troops are located at as well. Kind of start creating a line of Kurnoth Hunters to deal with the opposition. My other unit of Kurnoth Hunters is still engaged with those Savage Orruk Arrow Boys, so because of that, will be delayed for a little while, but now I have additional support to help out the rest of my army. So I kind of like consolidating my defense up here in the upper top side of the board. And so when I transport those guys along the spirit routes, I rolled like a 2, a 4, and I rolled a 3, I think. No, a 1 is what it was. I rolled a 1 for Durthu, but because of Durthu's ability as a Tree Lord, he automatically arrives there and safely. So because of that, those 3 units are located in that Sylvaneth Wildwoods, but that constitutes an additional movement phase, so I get no additional movement after that part. So that makes up the movement phase on this one. Alright, during the shooting phase, I managed to cut down the remaining half of what was left over for that Savage Orruk Arrow Boy unit, the Twang Twang, so that part's kind of cool. So this is the photo that's after the aftermath on that part. And in the combat phase, I managed to wipe out the rest of that unit as well. So here's a photo of the aftermath at the combat phase. We went pretty much went my way since I chose this combat first. We finished off the rest of those Savage Orruk Arrow Boys, the Twang Twang. I killed a vast majority of them with the close combat attacks from the Quiverlings, and then we did our stomps as well. I managed to finish those guys off good, so those guys are pretty much dead. So for the next turn, I'm planning on using those Troop of Dust there to march back over to that Sylvaneth Wildwood at the right-hand side, and then teleport them back to my main lines, so that way I can enjoy the fray from other guys. So that's combat on this side of the board. Combat here on the top of the board was also pretty brutal as well. I managed to kill off a couple more Iron Jaw orcs. I also managed to he also managed to kill a couple of my dryads as well. So that part was pretty rough. But what I should have done for the last movement phase, the charge phase, actually have all my dryads just kind of bunch up on that unit. I didn't really see that part coming out too well. So I think for the next time that I have a next round, I'll probably do that and then have them be destroyed and then set them up for the next charges that might be coming my way. So that pretty much makes combat as well as battle shock phase. On to that, we go to the bottom of turn number 3. So we get to the bottom of battle round number 3. My buddy takes a look at the table and he decides to quit it early. Actually, is what he decides to do. He was kind of looking at the situation and he saw like how I teleported my troops out of there using that Deepwood spell, the Tree Song spell. He realizes he only has his War Chanter left over. He also only has 2 units of his Iron Jaws left, which is still a pretty formidable force in my opinion. But he's like, nah. By the time I get up there, he goes, you're gonna probably move those forests again and put me out of position again, and you just gotta piecemeal my guys bit by bit and just chop up those units one at a time. So at this point, he basically calls the game at this point. And to be honest, I didn't realize how demoralizing that actually was for my opponent. I mean, I can kind of see where he's coming from because that was what my plan was going to be. My plan was going to have those guys kind of move up as quick as they possibly could to my unit, the Sylvaneth Wildwoods, and I was going to teleport them away to the side maybe or to another part of the board and hopefully get those guys away from there because they're pretty much most of my units are pretty much pristine in that part. While half his army has pretty much been killed at that point. So can't really be my buddy though. You know, it was pretty shocking to me like how powerful that spell was and what it could possibly do for battles at this point. So yeah, that pretty much puts this one in the rule books and the books, so we're pretty much done this part. So with that, we go directly to the after action report.
Sure, I could have stayed in the past. Could have even been king. But in my own way, I am king. Hail to the king, baby.
All right, now it's time for the after action report. This is the part of the battle report we talk about what went well, what went poorly, and what we can learn for the next time. This was Age of Sigmar, Age of the Realms battle report number 13. It was fought between myself as well as my buddy brother Grim. So let's go and talk about how it broke down. So first of all, the Tree Song Deep Wood Lore spell is absurdly powerful. I really didn't know how powerful the spell really was until I actually cast it, and I realized that this spell could be used in one of 2 ways really. You could use it to option number 1, deprive your opponent of combat like I did. I basically just took all my forces and shoved them all the way back to the board, so it requires my opponent to waste his battle rounds trying to catch up to me as quickly as possible. So you could do it for that one. Or if you really want to be really sadistic, I guess what you could do is set up some Sylvaneth Wildwood. As his units cross into them, you teleport them to other parts of the battlefield and basically put them out of play. So didn't really see how powerful that spell was until I actually used it in combat. And now my idea about this spell is that I'm going to be using it every single time I can. Now, it's just simply too powerful not to take in that portion. And I also realized with the new additions that we made to some of the rules in this army for the Sylvaneth army, it's really good at avoiding unwanted combats because a lot of your stuff isn't really tough in a Sylvaneth army. It's more offensive rather than defensive. It doesn't really have the staying power to really stay for long, prolonged combats, really. So because of that, I can see why they include that spell and how it's so powerful to do that as well. The battalion abilities that this army has, especially the Forest Folks teleportation ability and the Free Folks ability to move during combat phase, is basically a huge portion that allowed me to win. The Sylvaneth army is definitely able to basically move around as necessary and move them around as you need to. That teleportation ability using with the traveling on the spirit routes is really, really powerful. It gets you to the combat that you need to be in, move guys out of the way when you need to. Also, the Free Folks ability to move your Kurnoth hunters as quickly as you want to is also really good as part. So, I really like that part as well. Now, using the Spirit of Durthu, I did like using the Spirit of Durthu. I think he's tooled up better for combat, especially with his Verdant Blast and everything like that. However, I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence on this guy. I might stay with Classic Durthu, and the reason why I want to do that is because during the command phase, even though the Spirit of Durthu was my general, Durthu gets 100% Sylvaneth Wildwood summons all the time. Yeah, he might not be able to get access to artifacts because he's a special character, but that ability to summon up Sylvaneth Wildwoods all the time, you can't beat that. When you combine it with the 50-50 of having another Sylvaneth Wildwood pop up because of your Treeman Ancient, that could really work out pretty well. So I might change up my list. I might not. I don't know. I'll have to see how it works. I do like the way how the way pipes for the tree revenants really work. I really like it because it's a really good problem solver unit. I'm just not a fan of the cost for that unit. I think it's like 100 points for 120 points for 5 of them as opposed to getting a bunch of dryads. So I don't know. I mean, in combat they performed reasonably well, so I thought they did pretty good there. But at the same time, it's kind of like I don't know. I'm like I said before, I'm on the fence on those guys. I might keep them just because I like having that household battalion and having that ability with my troops. So I just might keep it. I don't know. Still on the fence on those guys as well. Kurnoth Hunters are still the best. I mean, they're the best unit that we have in the Sylvaneth army, in my opinion. They got good armor saves, good wounds. They're like miniature heroes in their own right, right? Their abilities are outrageous. Stomping, able to close ranks and gain a +1 armor save as well. Plus with their combat abilities, it's just a really good really good unit to use. I might switch up with that unit using great swords as well. I might try to give that a go. Like I said, I'm still kind of on the fence on that part because while if you include the great swords, the Kurnoth Hunters have a better time at fighting in close combat. You don't get a shooting phase with them. Whereas if you keep the Kurnoth Hunters with great bows, they get shooting and they also get close combat as well, which is something I might have to take a look at. I don't know. I have to take a look at that part and see what we use it for that part. So, like I said, on the fence on that part. I'm still also out on the Branch Witch as well. I think that's because I really didn't get a chance to use her abilities or use her spells that often. She just kind of hanged around because my opponent never got a chance to get the grips on me. So I might have to rethink using her or not. But like I said before, I do like having the Household Battalion and having some of their bonuses for the Battle Shock phase. So I might keep her just for that reason. So like I said, we'll have to see on that part as well. And in my opinion, Sylvaneth is still the best army in Age of Sigmar. It's my opinion. I plan on sticking with them to the very end, unless they do something really different with them in other editions. I don't see myself parting ways with the Sylvaneth army anytime soon. I mean, they're just cool looking models. They're beautifully done. The rules really fun for them. They got really powerful magic, good combat, just a good all around army. Plus, their maneuverability is freaking outrageous. So, definitely love this army a lot. So, with that being said, this one's in the books for Battleport number 13 for Age of the Realms. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Give me your input on this. Your input's only making these Battleports even better. So, thanks, you guys. And also, happy holidays, you guys. Take it easy. Catch you on the flip side.